Hey, it's Tpok. I'm back in true Remembrance. We left off with a puppy, so, well, proper dog food would have been better. But we don't have any, so this'll have to do. And you've had pets before? Why do you ask? Well, you look like you know what you're doing, as if you've done this before. I had a cat once. A kitten. Really cute little girl. She went her own way before long, though. Wait a second. La suddenly reached out and grabbed something on the puppy's neck. The puppy, of course, was too busy wolfing down what must have been his first meal in days to notice. A collar, and on it, a gold-plated nameplate. So this is someone's pet. Can you make anything out? Jackal. So, that's his name. How wonderful. Wait, there's something else. An address on 7th Street. 7th Street? He came all the way from there. No wonder he's in this condition. His meal obviously finished, Jackal came ambling towards where La was sitting on the living room floor. He turned around a couple of times and finally curled up with his head on her lap. He closed his eyes and settled into a contented sleep. His owner's probably a girl. Such a pushy little guy, don't you think? Maybe, but his owner's probably worried sick. Probably looking for him. Can we go? Take him to 7th Street? Sure. If we keep him here, he'll end up eating everything in the house anyhow. We'll get going once he wakes up. She's mad, and so we waited. I sat in a chair and read a book. La, on the other hand, sat motionless on the ground, as if she did not wish to disturb the dog's sleep. Soon enough, Jackal roared a little and started shuddering. La looked up at me as if she had no idea what to do. He's still half asleep, that's all. Give him some time. Really? Doesn't seem that way. By now, La had started shuddering herself. But Jackal finally opened his eyes with a big yawn. Then he got to his feet. After a long, leisurely stretch, he looked up at us with an unmistakable grin and a wagging tail. All right, let's go. Wait, do they allow pets on the trolley? No, they didn't, as a matter of fact, which meant we were going to have to hoof it. We're going on a walk? How nice, huh, Jackal? I looked at the two of them. They were quite the sight. I didn't know who looked happier about this turn of events, Jackal or La. Usually this kind of exuberance would annoy me, but for some reason not today, so I shrugged. What could I do after all? I attached a leash onto Jackal's collar, and then we walked out the door together. Now, I had the leash in the very beginning, but La kept looking at me so enviously that I had to hand it over. Although the way Jackal was surging ahead now, there was some doubt as to who was walking whom. La, keep your eyes on the road, otherwise you'll bump into something. Oh, right. Eek! And so we walked along. Rather, I walked along, and La was pulled and dragged in this direction and that. You know how they say that sometimes with pets it's hard to know who owns whom? In this case, the relationship was obvious. A large percentage of people in town kept pets. This made sense. Most of us were mnemonicides living out solitary lives. Companionship was always welcome, no matter whether it was furry or scaled or finned. Still, I thought there was something terribly wrong with this. Why was it that pets were more welcome than people here in this walled garden, frozen with dollar and ice? 7th Street was an urban promenade, filled with narrow streets lined by tall buildings. We Mnemonicides lived in these apartment complexes when we were off duty, here and on 5th, where I had my place. When I came to take a guest, we were given a more spacious residence for the duration of that assignment. Now, La had never seen this place before. Usually she'd skip along taking in the sights and sounds at her own pace. There wasn't any chance of that today. Jackal was all over her. A woman, probably an Mnemonicide, on her way back from grocery stopping, stopped to watch the spectacle. I could hear her giggling softly as we walked by. It took us roughly an hour to find the address that had been written on Jackal's collar tag. We located the apartment number in the doorside directory and pressed the corresponding buzzer. But no one answered. Maybe no one's home? Now what? Well, we can't just leave Jackal here and go home. We'll have to try again later. Okay. I'm sure the owner is worried. I looked hard at the buzzer one last time and then turned away, as did Jackal. So we go to a cafe then, I guess, with Jackal. It was still such a nice day out, so we ended up walking all the way to Cafe Roma on 6th. I could hear voices coming from inside. Now that was unusual. But when I listened a bit more closely, I realized, oh, Rook was just listening to the radio. Welcome. Hey man, you heard about what's going on? Bad news, yo, bad news. Rook turned to me with a troubled expression on his face, gesturing at the radio all the while. Why, what happened? Should have known you'd had no idea. An anarchist group claims they planted a bomb at HQ. Now everyone was evacuated, so no real harm done, but still, man. An anarchist group. They aren't even worthy of that label. Just a bunch of selfish idiots with too much time on their hands, I'm telling you. We got to do the world a favor and kill them all. Strong words. I've never seen him this upset before. Also kind of ironic, given what he told me of his past. La was standing at the door, unsure of whether she ought to come in or not. Now that was considerate of her. After all, most restaurants didn't allow pets inside. Oh, hey, La. Wait, that dog. You know him? No, never seen him before. It's just a customer of mine lost a dog a couple of days ago. Mixed breed, black fur, fits the description, don't you think? Talk about finding clues in the strangest places. La's face suddenly lit up. She strode into Roma with a spring in her step and with Jackal at her heels. This customer, a regular? Coming today, perhaps? Who knows? Usually comes around in the evening, see? We went over to the owner's apartment, no one home. Heh, you went during business hours, didn't you? No wonder, he's probably still at work or something. And is this an Mnemonicide? Apparently. Didn't pry much though, if you know what I'm saying. Rook deftly placed a bowl of water in front of Jackal and lunch in front of us. Yo, you mind if I keep him for a bit? Fine with me. Rook really did look eager to help, and this would free me up from having to dog sit. But why was he doing this? I didn't know that he liked dogs. See, the owner, she's this pretty little lady, worried to death about her dog, see, so if I can be of any assistance. No, it wasn't that he liked dogs, he was a horn dog. How could I forget? Anyway, it was a done deal. Rook took Jackal, and we took in lunch. After we finished, it was time for us to leave. La clearly didn't want to leave Jackal behind, but she knew that it was better this way. So she patted him on the head gently before heading out the door. Jackal closed his eyes with bliss. As we walked down 6th on our way home, I felt him watching us, or rather La, from the window. Obviously, she'd made a new friend. The next time we went shopping, there were newsboys in the streets, waving their papers about and yelling at the top of their lungs. How unusual, I thought. Since when does our little town have anything worth writing about? I bought a paper on a whim, and it turned out another bomb. This time, it was the public park on 4th Street. According to the article, the same anarchist group of the HQ bomb incident was to blame. And speaking of HQ, there was a general proclamation from the higher-ups next to the article. It wasn't anything I hadn't already heard 1,000 times over. Take extra care, protect your guests, report any suspicious activity immediately. Wasn't this all SOP anyhow? What does that mean? Why reiterate this? Why reiterate it at this hour? What point would that serve? La peeked over my shoulder and read along with me. She looked kind of worried, actually. I wonder, what do they want? Hard to say. This much is certain. Either Mnemonicides are behind this, or we have people who snuck in pretending to be guests. Either way, it isn't good news. A park. Lots of people. Is that what they want? To shake us up? To hurt us? Interesting. I'd never seen Law this upset before, especially given the fact that the article didn't make mention of anyone being killed or wounded. Well, if they wanted to shake us up, they've certainly succeeded in that. Hard to believe that there's someone out there who'd sneak into this town just to blow stuff up. It wasn't just us, the entire country was shaken by this news, probably. Which meant there was a massive manhunt going on, even as we stood on the street and read the newspaper. But the thing was, they hadn't caught the perpetrators the first time around either. How was I to have much confidence they'd succeed this time around? For that matter, how was I to have much confidence that someone at HQ wasn't feeding information to terrorists? Oh, we're at Aroma again. We headed over to Aroma once our shopping was done. I opened the door and came face to face with a woman who was obviously just about to leave. Didn't we see her before? I started stepping back so she could get out, but she was faster than I was and squeezed past me in the blink of an eye. In fact, her motions were so brisk that she actually did bump into me fairly hard on her way out. Now, it wasn't forceful enough to knock me over or anything, far from it, but I remembered feeling something not quite right touch my arm. Which was why I just thrust my hands into my coat pockets and stood there in front of Aroma for a bit. Blackiris, is something wrong? La asked, obviously wondering why I wasn't going in already. Oh, no, it's nothing, I replied with a smile. Rook was washing dishes when we walked in. He turned and shook his head slightly to see when he saw who we were. Should have come a bit earlier, kids. Jackal's owner was here up till a few minutes ago, you see. No kidding. So she's the one I bumped into on the way in. Yeah, no doubt. Anyway, she said she wanted to thank you in person, so I gave her your current address. She told me she'd be coming up around your place in the evening. All right. We took our usual seats at the counter. There was a manila envelope sitting there. La eyed it for a second. Think this is hers? More than likely. Not a very organized person, is she? First she loses her dog, now she's leaving her stuff around everywhere. La picked up the envelope and gave it to me. I put it in my pocket. If that woman really was going to come over later tonight, I might as well give it to her then. Besides, I had bigger fish to fry at the moment. Hey, Rook, that lady, does she come here often? Yeah, she's been coming every day for an entire week now. Know what the weird thing is, though? Today's the first time I'd seen her at this hour. She always stops by at night, right before closing time. Every day. Then I wonder, perhaps she isn't on assignment right now. If she were, there'd be no way she'd come here alone. Rook stopped washing mugs for a moment. He turned and nodded. Yeah, I guess you're right. I wonder why she comes this often. You gone loco, man? To eat, obviously. And to hook up with me. Alright, all jokes aside, she's probably just lonely or something. Lonely? You know, man, not everyone likes being alone like you do. In fact, most of us prefer the opposite, thank you very much. Besides, if you're not on assignment, you're totally free. Nothing to do, no one to talk to. Makes sense that someone in that position would come to a place like this, don't you think? Perhaps. Come on, Blackiris, get with the program here. Don't you know what goes on in the heart of a lonely woman? No, and I don't want to know either, I said with a sigh and a wry smile. Law, on the other hand, well, let's just say she was eating up every single thing Rook was saying. I mean, the way her eyes were sparkling, I knew he had her hook, line, and sinker. And I hoped nothing strange would come of this. You know your customer well. Well, yeah, of course. Besides, she's quite the looker, and actually, there's something kinda odd about her. He trailed off at this point and went on polishing mugs, staring at the door all the while. No matter what I said or did, I couldn't get him to say anything further. Didn't we see her before? I thought we did. We got back to our place shortly before sunset. Law and I were busy making dinner when there was a knock at our door. Now, Law had her hands full, literally, with hamburger meat, so I went to see who it was. I looked out the peephole, and sure enough, there was someone standing there. I opened the door a crack. Is this the residence of Blackiris, the Mnemonicide? I came to thank you for finding him, my dog, a few days ago. For someone who lost track of dogs and envelopes on a regular basis, she was really rather punctual. I opened the door the rest of the way. Sure enough, there Jackal was, along with the young woman who I bumped into at Aroma. Her face stiffened when she saw me. Maybe it was surprise, maybe it was something else. Anyway, she took a step back and gave me a look that was closer to a glare than anything. But Law came rushing out of the foyer before she or I could say anything further. The woman opened her mouth to say something, but snapped it shut when she saw Law running toward her. So, you're Jackal's master. Isn't that wonderful, Jackal? Aren't you happy to be with her again? Law squatted down to bring herself face to face with the dog. Then she looked up at our guest and inquired, May I pet him? Oh, of course. He'd love it. The woman finally let a smile creep onto her face. She handed over the leash to La, who took it gladly. Jackal, on the other hand, started jumping up and licking La's cheek even more gladly. Obviously, he remembered who she was. That tickles. When she turned back to me after watching La and Jackal frolic about, there was no hint of iciness left in her eyes anymore. My name is Lips. I'm a Mnemonicide. I came here to thank you for taking care of Jackal when he needed it most. So if there's anything I can do for you, please. She said with a voice as clear as the winter sky. She bowed deeply, her long hair spilling over her shoulders as she did so. Oh no, we didn't do much. If you want to thank someone, go see Rook. The guy who operates Aroma. Oh, yes, I've already done so. Oh, and here. I didn't have any idea about how to thank you, so I brought you some sweets. Lips held out a nicely wrapped package. For a moment, I had no idea whether I should accept it or not, but only for a moment. I took the box. Well then, I'd best be off. And that's exactly what she would have done had Law not stopped her. Wait! Lips, would you stay a while? Okay with you, Blackiris? I wondered why she was asking me at all. This place was hers as well, obviously. I nodded anyway. La looked happy about that. You haven't eaten yet, correct? Care to have dinner with us? But... also, love to play with Jackal some more. May I? Whatever doubts Lips might have had, they evaporated at this point. She nodded with a smile. Then I'd love to. Thank you very much. Well, guys, next time we'll have dinner with Lips. I'm going to try and figure out, because I recognize that. I don't know if it might have been, like, just me seeing her when I was downloading the game, like, off their website or something. I could have sworn we've seen her before. But anyways, thanks for watching, and see you next time.